Good morning, everyone. I'd first like to thank General Allen for taking the time away from his busy duties to be able to speak to us. He is a huge supporter of Army medicine and of our Army. And, you know, he gave us a challenge, whether it's a small challenge or large, but I think we need to focus our efforts to get his health up, so he's leading the performance triad inside that building. I'd also like to thank General Sullivan and all the leaders from AUSA. You know, we have been very fortunate over the years to have a partnership with AUSA, and we had a break from having our conferences down in San Antonio. This is the first one that we've had in years, and so I'm very appreciative, General Sullivan, of your leadership, both on active duty and off of active duty, and all the other leaders in AUSA. So if we could give them a huge round of applause and say thank you. And I'm very happy to see such a diverse and talented audience here today. We've got over nearly 300 representatives from industry, federal, nonprofit, and academic domains. We've also got our counterparts in Canada and the United Kingdom, so thank you all for being here as well. So we're here to learn from each other, to develop connections and partnerships that will lead to improved excellence in the delivery of healthcare and the health of all of our Army and individuals for our great nation and beyond. For those of you that are not familiar with the breadth and the depth of Army medicine, this is our story. Today, we're going to drill down on the theme of this symposium, and it's strengthening the health of our nation by improving the health of our Army. We'll share the Army medicine story about our transformation to a system for health, a story which describes our pursuit of excellence in healthcare and health. And so with your help, we'll continue our momentum of spreading ideas and initiatives and truly changing the safety and the health of everyone across the country and potentially across the globe. I believe many, if not all in the audience, would agree that our healthcare systems and our health have room for improvement. Today, I want to zero in on patient harm and beneficiary health, two hallmarks of our culture, two areas in which we make choices every single day, choices that impact patient safety in all of our hospitals, and choices that impact our health. Choosing to focus on these two critical areas will advance our goals of strengthening our Army and strengthening our nation. There are many contributing factors and problems of patient harm and beneficiary harm, but it seems clear that the root cause lies in our culture, the way we do things as individuals and the way we do things as systems. But we have choices and we have opportunities. We have the choice and the opportunity now to change our culture, to improve our systems, and alter habits and behaviors, regardless of any challenge that we face. For healthcare, we can choose to abolish unsafe practices. No more. No more incorrect medications, no more wrong site surgeries, no more infections and communication issues with our patients, just to name a few. Let's have a healthcare culture that embraces safety practices and removes for good any chance of preventable harm. For health, let's choose to make better choices every day. Right now, we have a culture that promotes unhealthy food and healthier options, sedentary lifestyle over activity, and working longer instead of sleeping longer. We have a culture that doesn't value the health benefits of sleep. Let's promote healthy behaviors that will have a positive, long-term impact on our nation's health. Reducing patient harm and promoting healthier lifestyles are essential to improving the health of our Army, promoting our national security, and ensuring a strong and powerful nation. So how do we do this? Army medicine is modeling and leading the way by changing the Army culture and transforming to a system for health, to address the root cause of preventable disease, our culture of unhealthy living. Poor choices, too few healthy options, time constraint, costs, and lack of knowledge. There are numerous reasons why we may not eat a proper diet, not get enough sleep, and not be more active. Some may choose to follow an unhealthy path, but for others, it may be all that they know or think they can afford. Ours is a culture that has neither understood nor embraced the level of health literacy that we need to improve lives. We all know that our nation has a problem with obesity, and General Allen just brought out many of the statistics on that, and the problem is only getting worse. Obesity is even a problem for our active duty and for our veterans. So many of you already know this, but some of you may not, that over 70% of our veterans are obese or overweight. Think about that. That's almost 3 out of 4 veterans. And potential recruits are having problems, as General Allen alluded to, joining the military. Being overweight or obese is the leading medical reasons why our applicants fail to qualify to serve in our armed forces. Our nation is in a health crisis, and it has the potential to threaten our national security. So we should be asking ourselves, what can we do to ensure that we can continue to protect and defend this great nation? The Army is proactively reaching outside of our military treatment facilities to move into the life space, the area where people live, labor, and they love, nudging healthy behaviors and shaping a healthy culture throughout our Army and Army family, and ultimately then across our nation. And we're doing this in order to effect long-lasting behavioral changes. Currently, our system for health is working towards optimizing health, readiness, and performance of our soldiers through a program called the Performance Triad. Many of you know that, many of you helped develop that. It's an important piece for us to leverage the way that we are going to improve health and readiness across our Army and then potentially across our nation. It improves health literacy and promotes lifestyle changes related to the 3 main behaviors tied to health: sleep, activity, and nutrition. We can move beyond the bricks and mortar to reach into the life space by leveraging technology, using robust, cutting-edge health innovations, such as personal readiness devices and telehealth medicine, not the readiness devices that General Sullivan alluded to this morning, a little bit more, and a little more technology. We can extend our health influence on those that we serve. By helping our soldiers and beneficiaries learn to make healthy choices today in their daily lives, we can promote the adoption of healthy habits for life. So what I'd like to do is share with you a soldier's experience and a story with the Performance Triad. Sergeant Amanda Tucker used the Performance Triad and used it to make a big change in her life. Like many of us, Sergeant Tucker was raised on unhealthy habits, a diet of processed food, fast food, and poor sleep habits. As she balanced her duties as a soldier, a college student, and a mother of 3 children, she had little time for exercise. Sergeant Tucker used the basic tenets of the Performance Triad just to gradually and make small changes into her daily life. She started eating fresh fruits and vegetables, avoiding processed foods, exercising as a family, and getting more sleep. Because of these healthy choices, she lost weight, she had more energy, and she's more physically fit today as a soldier than she was prior. She just finished running a half marathon. She's seen improvements in her children's school performance. So for Sergeant Tucker and her family, the Performance Triad was a driving force for a healthier lifestyle. Her story is increasingly a common story that we're hearing across our Army. We're seeing positive changes in attitudes and behaviors that are becoming embedded in the DNA of our Army. We're seeing improvements in health, improvements in resilience, readiness, and the performance of our soldiers and their family members. Performance is a key word here. Later today, you're going to learn that the future direction of our Army is the human performance research. This includes the human dimension and the soldier athletes, concepts which recognize the value of our warriors as humans. It's not just their equipment that makes them highly effective, but the resilience that they have built through training and healthy living. Even with optimal health and healthy behaviors, we recognize that our soldiers, our families, and our retirees will always need excellent health care, as does the entire nation. Advancements in Army medicine are an important part of our health care and our ability to continue to improve. But at the heart of our pursuit of excellence is our full commitment to a culture of patient safety and becoming a highly reliable organization. In this video, Dennis Quaid likened hospitals to battlefields, specifically the battlefield of a war with an invisible enemy. And so I'd ask you to take the moment to just think about that and see whether or not you agree with the comments that he made. I actually think it's a valid comparison, but I would argue that the enemy is not invisible. In healthcare, the enemy is a culture that has allowed our patients to become casualties of war. We accept mistakes and failure as a likely risk inherent in the healthcare industry. We look at our safety rating in comparison to others, that benchmarks are there as a way for us to improve. We exert great efforts to bring our numbers up, yet often defining success as less than 100%. And I've been very guilty of this, very guilty of accepting the numbers. But if our number is anything less than 100%, there are people who are in harm's way. Real people. Your spouses, your brothers, your mothers, your fathers, and your children, and yourself. It is very easy for real people like ourselves. We must not accept anything other than zero harm. And to achieve zero harm, we will do a deep dive in the principles of high reliability today. But I'd like to touch on it just a little bit for now. More than 400,000 preventable deaths occur in our hospitals across the United States annually. And in 1999, the Institute of Medicine published an article, "To Err is Human." It's highlighted the systemic problems in Americans' hospital system and recommended ways to put the system back on track. For 15 years now, we have known that 268 Americans die every day from medical errors. And yet, we're still nowhere close to achieving a high reliability. So why is that? Because unlike the battlefields of Iraq and Afghanistan, where we expect harm and we openly talk about it, in our hospitals, we talk about patient harm in hushed tones and refer to harm in metaphors of near misses, unintended reactions, and close calls. For our casualties in Iraq and Afghanistan, we poured resources into advancing limb and life-saving technology. We reached out to our academic and industry and federal partners to develop state-of-the-art joint evacuation platforms, all with the goal of reducing our mortality rate to zero. We've done all this with a singular vision in mind: to bring our soldiers home safely, because that's what they deserve. That was our top priority, and we made it happen. Why do our patients not deserve the same? They shouldn't deserve anything less back home. We must apply the same principles that we use on the battlefield to bring that same level of commitment, that same willingness to openly talk about harm. We must prioritize our efforts and never settle for anything less than the elimination of preventable harm. That's how we can develop the best ways to mitigate harm in our hospitals. So I challenge each of you to look at your hospitals through the lens of a patient as a potential casualty of war. Patients do battle with diseases every day in our hospitals. We, as clinicians, are their battle buddies, and we never leave a fallen comrade behind. When we look at hospitals this way, how can we be satisfied with 90% or 80% or anything less than 100%? We must aim for zero preventable harm. We as leaders must establish and nurture a culture of safety and transparency, a culture in which we openly acknowledge our mistakes and remain vigilant in a way that improves and incorporates processes to reduce the risk. Making these cultural changes in our healthcare system, just as making a cultural change in our health, will not be easy. Culture change takes time, but it can be done. Changing the behavior of the Army and the nation may seem impossible, but I can tell you it can be done. And changing the safety and the culture of our healthcare system may seem insurmountable, but it too can be done. I've touched upon many concepts in the past 20 minutes or so: a system for health, a high reliability organization, the performance triad, health innovations, and the human dimension. Indeed, they're all effective practices that can improve our health and health care. But the bottom line is that they're just tools. The most essential requirement to the success of achieving our goals, to strengthening the health of our nation and improving the health of our Army, is leadership, commitment, and engagement. In partnership with academia and industry, culture change takes committed, persistent leaders and widespread support and participation from all the stakeholders. It takes partnerships between the public and private sectors with organizations like many in the audience today. Today, you'll be given the tools to pursue a culture change. Today, let's leave here with a renewed commitment to improve the health of our nation and lead culture change by spreading innovations and lessons learned across all health domains, across our Army, across our nation, and together we can absolutely do this. Thank you. Serving to heal, honored to serve. What technologies should industry focus their independent research and develop efforts on to help move your priorities in the right direction? I think in both areas. One, I'll focus on health first. We need to be able to leverage big data to actually kind of predict the way that we should be managing our health and our health care, and really improve health literacy across the globes. We also need to look at technology to be able to quickly sift through that data for us and make it actionable data. Because I think some of the challenges in today's world is there is so much information out there that we actually get paralyzed by the information and we don't use it as actionable information. So simplicity and actually have something that is easily accepted within the healthcare community is one area. We also need to be looking at technology that will broaden the information that we can have. So as we look at the performance triad now of sleep, activity, nutrition, we should be asking our industry partners to say, what else is the information that's needed for our healthcare providers and our individuals to better be able to focus on health so that we have much more information that is outside of our healthcare facilities and actionable information for the individuals to make those lifestyle changes. On the areas of high reliability organizations and helping with preventable harm, there has got to be an industry solution that can partner with the human aspect. We know there's going to be mistakes. We will always have mistakes in healthcare because we're human. But how can we leverage technological devices that can help us to mitigate the human errors that can occur so that we can then have a better visibility within our systems and make the right system changes that can then be leveraged across the entire organization? And then I have many experts in the room who could probably give you much better answers than those, but I'll give it from my perspective. The next one is please discuss how medical simulation, combat medic, and graduate medical education support the mission of zero harm. and any emerging initiatives in simulation. You know, we have seen over the last 13 years of war the impact of using simulation on how that, one, would get our clinicians their skills ready prior to deploying, but how it would also be able to get their skills back to the level that it was needed when they redeployed back for any skills degradation. Simulation is an area that can really help us when we look at team training, when we look at communication. I would love for us to use simulation in our facilities that would take a real live situation where we had a close call or the word near miss, and we took that and we took the team together and we simulated what would have happened if that wasn't a near miss, what would have happened if that wasn't a close call, and we were able to carry it all the way through. And then we can make those proactive changes and do the learning so that we avoid that occurring the next time. So I think there's a lot of areas where simulation can be used to really give real-time feedback to the staff members as part of the hospital. Okay, and then, excuse me, can you give us a preview of the results of the recent SecDef-directed review of military medical facilities and services? So I can't tell you exactly what's in it because it's going to be released towards the end of September, and the Secretary of Defense has that. But the focus is really looking at patient safety, quality of care, and how do we as a military medicine healthcare system, where are we doing well, where can we do better, and how do we improve in the areas of quality of care and patient safety. And so there are, and Barb actually led that, 74 or 84 recommendations? 79? Okay. 79 different recommendations. It found that we are not a system in crises, but it really supported that we are a learning organization in a transparent system that is very open to looking at where we can make the right improvements, because we owe it to those that are serving so much for our nation, and we owe it to the families that support them. 100% needs to be our goal, and we need to move from benchmarks where average is considered successful to actually move to where we set the standard of zero harm across our facilities. Please describe how medical procurement and contracts for Army will be impacted by the establishment of the new Defense Health Agency. So I'll answer that because it's a two-part. So with the Defense Health Agency, which stood up in October of last year, we have moved 10 different shared services over, and it really is a customer kind of vendor relationship with the Defense Health Agency and Army, Navy, and Air Force. Contracting, prior to that, I believe Army Medicine did about 55% of all the contracting across Department of Defense. We're in the middle of defining those capabilities in which the Defense Health Agency will manage contracts that will allow us to kind of streamline where we may have had some redundancy across each one of our services. And so I think from an outside perspective, it will almost look like business as usual. The entry point will be through the Defense Health Agency to look at contracts. We still, within the Army, maintain a large number of contracts so that they support the operational aspect of what we do. Okay. Let's see. How can the Army impact the health care our vets receive once they retire from the Army? You know, it's interesting. Gallup did a survey a couple years back, and what they found is shortly after a veteran retires that they exceed the obesity rate of the civilian sector. And that really struck me, because I think what it said to me is that we miss the opportunity while they're serving on active duty to incorporate health into their lifestyle. And we really make health part of a condition of employment, because the last day they leave, they say no more PT tests, no more getting up at 6 o'clock. And we do that kind of as a joke. But what happens is we really do change our health habits. And so I think one of the things that as we look, we need to really look at taking advantage while our soldiers are serving on active duty. How do we really incorporate health from the beginning of their entry onto active duty, and then we look at caring for our service members for life, and that we partner in much stronger partnership with the VA as they transition out of active duty into the workforce in the civilian sector. So I think looking at health literacy is a very big piece of that. I think the other piece that we need to do across our country is to really have the conversation, how do we change the way that we build our communities? What are we educating engineers, and how do you build healthy communities? How do we take advantage of our youth in school, and what should we be incorporating early on in health, education, and activity? Because that's our future, and that's our young recruits that are going to be serving. We should also be looking at the way that we educate all of our clinical professionals, and we should be incorporating much more healthy knowledge into our universities so that we're growing clinicians and administrators that really focus on overall health so that we can really be those leaders across our nation. Okay, let's see. Are there strategies in place to coordinate and conduct the AUSA Medical Symposium in San Antonio? Okay. So actually one of the conversations that I had prior to this starting is when this is finished, part of what I want to do is sit down with the Secretary of the Army and actually give him a back brief of this symposium and let him know the impact of bringing together federal partners, industry, academia, and our medical professionals to really solve some of the tough challenges that we're facing as an Army and we're facing as a military healthcare system. Because I think if we can have the dialogue to show what this one day did in really the conversations of real-term issues. I mean, what we're dealing with right now is how do we really improve patient safety and change the culture across military medicine? It's a pertinent topic that we're talking about right now. How do we focus on soldier readiness and resiliency and performance? That's what our Army is focusing on right now. So I think that's what I plan to do after this is over with, is talk with them and then look at how do we get back to where we were with having a much broader forum and to bring everybody in, because I think it's value added. Okay.